Thank you for having me today. I came less today to talk about the substance of the ordinance and to just say that, an emergency in the context of homelessness and housing has been happening in our community for people of color and for people for 40 years. And it is, really just this mayor and all of you that have taken responsibility for the first time for that crisis. And we could debate until we're blue in the face about why those reasons are, but I think that we all understand at a very complex level that there's a growing divide between governments and the people. And to be able to show courage, I commend you all for all the work that you've done, all the work that we're doing. Obviously, I don't always agree with all the policies that take place surrounding this issue, but I think that we can all agree that we are in a state of emergency. We have been in a state of emergency. Just after this, I'm directly going to meet with the mother of someone who lost her son on the streets recently, and I don't have a lot to offer her other than a listening ear. So it's a hard knock life out there. We appreciate your support. We want you to do more. We just ask you to not always do things that are politically viable, but to do what is right. So thank you all.
Okay, we're going to move to public testimony, and we're going to limit testimony to 2 minutes each. And we have a custom here of inviting. We have a custom here.
Tenants?
We have a custom here.
We're all affected by the emergency.
We're going to limit testimony to 2 minutes each. We invite people with disabilities or families with young children to go first. Is there anybody who wishes to come up in that category? No? Okay.
Yes.
Joe? Okay. Come on up and get your first 2 minutes.
All right, Joe. I like Joe.
Disability should get 4 minutes.
And give us your name, and you have 2 minutes, and I'm in front of you.
My name is Joe Walsh. I represent Individuals for Justice. We have no position on the extension because we see the arguments on both sides of this. And the way we understand it is, one side would ask the question, what have you done in the last year with the emergency? You throw a lot of figures around, and you say you've done great stuff, and the county comes and tells you they've done great stuff. But we have this question. A year ago, we had 1,800 to 2,000 people on the street. Today, we have 1,800 to 2,000 people on the street. So when we look at the figures, we say you spend a lot of money, you've done a lot of talking, and you've ignored us, and we still have 1,800 to 2,000 people that every night are fearful. I'm 74. I'm not going to be here very long. My health is deteriorating. So when I argue, I don't argue for me. I go home tonight and I will take a nice hot shower. And I'll have a little glass of wine with dinner. And I'll open up the refrigerator and look in it and say, what do I feel like having? It's not what I got or what I can afford or what's available. It's what I feel like. That's all. That's the way we are. So when you do this extension, please do some kind of an amendment that says you will actually do something and have a report card at the end of it. Because I don't think you've done anything. Now it sounds like you've done a lot. I don't believe it. As long as there are 1,800 people on the street, I don't believe it. And tomorrow morning, there is going to be a sweep of 500 people, or maybe 4, or maybe 6, we don't know. That's inhuman. You can stop that. Are you listening to me, Mayor? You're gonna go to hell when you do these sweeps.
Yeah.
Is the 2 minutes up yet?
The 2 minutes is up, yes.
My God, a citizen took 2 minutes and 35 seconds. You're going to hell too.
At least he's going somewhere.
Clapping. Indicate your support by hands up or thumbs up, just like. Okay, Carla, please read the first three people signed up.
Did you have a disability or want to go?
And are there any other parents with young children that wish to take advantage? Come on up.
Go ahead. Go
Come
ahead
on
and
up.
sit, sir.
Oh, you can come up also.
You can stay up there.
Yeah,
Three seats.
I think you can. We got room.
Yeah.
Okay, come on up. Yeah, we got 3 chairs here.
Jump on in.
Okay, why don't we start with you, ma'am?
Okay.
You can just give us your name and you have 2 minutes.
All right, my name is Lori Grasso. I was a resident of North Portland for 7 years until I got a no cause eviction, so I did have stable housing. I became homeless and found out I was pregnant. And guess what? Your services, they suck. They suck. The only reason I have housing now, which I got from a physical buyer to join, I got it by communicating with people on Facebook. Facebook has done your jobs better than you have. Okay? I call 211 every day. No response. Nothing. Nothing. Imagine being 6, 7, 8, 9 months pregnant, sleeping on concrete. Sleeping on concrete. Hi, over there. Eye contact. Yeah. Fathom that for a second. Facebook is doing your job better than you have. Meanwhile, there's people with disabilities, families sleeping on the street, working full time, nothing. I really hope you continue your housing emergency for 3 years. I think you have a lot of issues going on, not just with, rent rising. No cause evictions need to go. They need to go. Okay? Like, there's no purpose behind it other than to be able to go, okay, you need to leave now so I can raise the rent 3 times higher. It's quicker to get people out doing false evictions and actually raising the rent and giving them the opportunity to pay it. Okay? It quickens that whole process. But yeah, this is my kid. Yeah, I carry him inside me. Yeah, smiles, but you know what? When I was out homeless in the street pregnant, nobody smiled at me. They treated me like crap every day. Every day. Garbage. So, and oh yeah, by the way, imagine being 9 months pregnant, waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, no bathrooms, nowhere to go to the bathroom. You know how often pregnant women have to pee? You know? They don't actually.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well,
Why don't you go ahead? Just give us your name. And you have 2 minutes. Can you pull the microphone a little closer? Okay.
My name is Dan Garcia, and I am a 61-year-old woman that has always been able to take care of myself as well as raise a child on my own. I have never seen a state that our nation is in, such as this one here now. Homelessness has always been an issue, and yet there's not been anything as far as government that I can honestly see that is helping to solve the problem. The problem just continues to grow and grow and grow. I've been actively trying to help on this issue to begin with because I always said I was a stone's throw away. Well, the stone got thrown, and I am now homeless for the first time in my life. And I worked hard, I raised a good child, I've done the best I can. I am also a vet, and I've done everything within my power. But on disability, you are on such a minimal amount to survive. And it's not covering the cost of a minimal apartment here in Portland today. So this is just, I am one example of hundreds of other people that are sitting in the same seat. I'm just a face to so many others and a voice, because it's hard for us to step up in front of strangers such as yourselves and explain our scenario. And the other part of this that frustrates me the most is the lack of city planning. It's been a problem for decades, and yet the city just now seems to be giving it the real respect and attention it needs. And I just feel as though I've become a victim because people have been lacking with doing their job. And now I am suffering. I hope you have a beautiful night and your beautiful comfort of your home. There's so many of us out there that have nowhere to go. We look for a rock to crawl under and we can't find a rock. Thank you for your time.
Okay, go ahead, just give us your name, you have 2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Cindy White. I've been a resident of Portland, Oregon for 4 years, and I am a resident of Hazelnut Grove. My understanding is that the city is planning to work with a person by the name of Homer Williams, who apparently is a $100 million investment for the T1 site. Now, for the 1,800 people that are homeless, that's about $50,000. The median house price is about $550,000 in the city of Portland. You could subsidize the building of triple the amount of houses based on just materials. It's also worth pointing out the fact that most of the people who are homeless are women, especially women who are trans, GLBT, veterans, and construction workers. I find it extremely sublimely ironic that many of the people who are homeless are the people who know how to build houses. Well, building a house is actually quite easy. Building a house, you know, you got your frame, you got your studs, you got your Simpson ties, you got your, you know, I'm learning this from Joe Bennett. Is a phenomenal person, and he's taught us how to build. And building your house is not just a solution to houselessness. It could eradicate houselessness, but it's also a solution to people who simply don't want to pay a landlord, who is merely an individual who is putting themselves in between them and their ability to shower, sleep, shave, and shit. You are profiting. You are a person in the real estate industry. And you want to profit off of my basic needs to clean myself, to relieve my bodily functions, and to eat food that has been, you know, refrigerated, then your character should come into question and will come into question because we will question it. And especially when we can go to Home Depot and buy new materials and build houses that look just as nice as those ones in the Pearl, just as nice as those ones in North Portland, just as nice as those ones in Glens. And yeah, they're about 3 cents on the dollar that market rent wants to pay for us. So that's what I got to say.
Okay, let's go to the sign-up list. Could you read the first 3 people?
Yes, the first 3 are Alina Langford, Sammy Black, and Chloe Udale. And they'll be followed, Daly, and they'll be followed by Lynn Hager, Margot Black, and Pete Piperson.
Okay, I think Ms. Langford, could you read?
Yes, my name is Elena Linford, and I'm here representing Ash Street Tenants Association. We're a small but mighty apartment complex on Southeast 119th and Ash Street, where all 8 of the month-to-month tenants have been offered a choice between signing a lease with a $375 rent increase or a no-cost eviction. We are single mothers working 2 jobs, immigrants and refugees, people of color. We take the bus. Our children are in neighborhood schools. Some are disabled, and we're struggling to meet ends meet. We already live where people were told to go that can't afford rent in Portland. Our choice between a $375 rent increase or a no-cost eviction is an eviction from Portland. It's a notice of homelessness. I'm here today to urge you and extend the declaration and ordinance of the City of Portland's state of emergency on housing and homelessness. But I ask you not only to focus on the people, on getting people who are in tents or on the street into shelters, and even those in shelters, hotels, and couches into housing, but also to consider doing something radical. Acknowledge and act on preventing the homelessness in the first place. Before moving into this apartment 3 years ago, I was already homeless. I lived in a hotel. I lived on a couch of a family member from a no-cost eviction. I'm already barely making ends meet, already paying $825 a month in rent for a no amenities apartment, where we experience poverty every day right outside my front door. Now I've been given a choice to pay $1,200 a month or move. I can't afford to stay. I can't afford to move. I can't afford to remove my son from Head Start that's fully funded, that's just blocks from my house. I can't afford to be further from transportation that my family is dependent with. And all 8 of the families that occupy this building that got this notice are in the same boat. And the truth is, on July 19th, the day we received the notice, is the day we became homeless. We're not alone, and this is not an anomaly. You're hearing this all day today. This is happening every day all over the city, and we have no place to go. For people in the city, this rent increase in this magnitude, or a no-cause eviction, is just a notice of homelessness. And you know that we can't afford, that there isn't enough affordable housing for us. You know that we can't wait for affordable housing in the pipeline to be built. You know that the application and screening barriers are too high for people like us to find anything. And 90 days is just 90 days worth of trauma and worry. That at the end, we still have no place to live.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lane.
Just a minute, I have a question.
Keep going. Keep going.
What's the name of the company or landlord that has given you these notices?
The Housing Commission.
So the management company is A&G Management, and they actually blame us. They say that Portland is a victim of its own success, and they blame you guys for not building affordable housing fast enough. You know, it's just for a landlord, the prospect of kicking us out, kicking out a low-income, below-market renter is just too lucrative. The money is there, and they want it. This isn't, you know, we're not people to them. This isn't our homes to them. This is just money to them. We're their ATM. You are my family and my community and my neighbor's only hope. Because the landlord and the owner, which I've made personal and public attempts to negotiate to keep us housed, they will not respond. They will not sit down with us. They will not talk to us. And I really believe that you must utilize your power during the housing state of emergency, and you must protect the vulnerable people from becoming homeless. That we need housing for homeless people, but we also need to keep the people that are already in houses and in homes. We need to keep them housed. We need to keep Portland housed. And this is a man-made disaster. This is a man-made disaster. And if you extend the state of emergency, you need to put a stop to no-cause evictions, and you need to put a rent freeze. Because this is the only thing that will keep 8 of these families in this house.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lane. Sir, thank you.
All right, well,
What's your name?
my name is Sammy Black. I'm also an organizer with Portland Tenants United. I'm here, of course, to strongly urge you to extend the housing state of emergency, also to consider responding to that emergency. I was in Peninsula Park almost exactly a year ago when Community Alliance of Tenants declared that Portland renters were in crisis. 3 weeks later, I was in these chambers when the housing emergency was passed. Renter protections were debated, and vague promises for more help for renters gave us hope. Promises that we know now never came to pass. This emergency has not passed. Meanwhile, Portland Tenants United, a grassroots tenants union, barely a year old, an organization without a revenue stream, without a budget, without an office, without a single paid staff member, has become triage for Portland's burgeoning renter emergency room. People contact us every day, begging us for help. Sometimes they just want to know their rights, because the only other source is CAT's Renter Rights Hotline and waiting 2 to 3 weeks for a call back from a volunteer. This is not CAT's wrongdoing, it's yours. Why is a desperately underfunded nonprofit bearing the sole responsibility of educating tenants on their rights? Landlords abusing tenants count on us us knowing better, and you are their insurance policy. But sometimes the tenants that contact us do know their rights, and they know that their landlord has violated them, and they're either scared to take a stand because they know they are risking their housing, or they want to know what to do. Do you know the answer, commissioners? Do you know who a tenant can call when their landlord has only given them 30 days notice instead of 90, when they illegally fine us, harass and intimidate us, refuse to make repairs, blatantly steal a down payment-sized security deposit when the rental contract is illegal? Do you know where they can go for help? To a courtroom. But only if they can navigate the system themselves or can afford a lawyer, and all too often the lawyer tells them it's not worth it. That we could win today, but we'll be no-cause evicted tomorrow. But usually they call us because they're about to legally lose their housing. Maybe because of a no-cause eviction or a huge rent increase. And to say they're in a panic is an understatement. They're disillusioned, devastated, depressed. They cannot afford to move. They have nowhere to go, and this is hard for us commissioners. Sometimes we're able to give helpful advice. Sometimes we're able to get them an attorney. Many times we've accompanied them to the hell that is eviction court to offer support and guidance, but short of civil disobedience, there is often no recourse. They will lose their housing, and no one but you can do anything to stop it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Black. Mr. Daly. Just give us your name, you have 2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Chloe Daly. I'm running for city council, but I'm here today as a cost burden renter to ask the city to help me and tens of thousands of other renters who are being impoverished and displaced during this crisis. I was one of the advocates. It's so hard for me to listen to these stories that I read every day, but to see these people in person and hear the stories is really emotional for me. I was one of the advocates calling for a housing state of emergency last year, and when the city seemed to hear our call, there was a lot of hope in the community that something would be done. A year later, we've not seen meaningful progress on emergency shelter, on tenant protections, or our out-of-control rental market. I support extending the housing state of emergency for a minimum of 1 year, but declaring an emergency is only the first step. There are also real solutions council can consider right now that could provide immediate and meaningful relief. First, please consider a temporary lift of the ordinances that currently ban RVs from parking on the street, prohibit homeowners from allowing camping on their private property, and prevent the construction of tiny homes on donated public lands. We can manage public health and safety through existing laws, and we can let property owners help their friends and family and neighbors stay marginally housed. In addition, you can enforce the rules you put in place on Airbnb and put an end to residential properties being turned into commercial enterprises. Estimates put these properties at least 1,000, with a vacancy rate of around 2%. That's a significant number. It's also close to what we hope to build in the next several years with our housing bond. That's rental housing that's been eliminated for over 3,000 renters. The boldest move you could make is to invoke ORS 91.225, Section 5, to temporarily stabilize and protect renters until the legislature gives us back the regulatory tools we need to deal with this housing crisis. I know the city is afraid of being sued over this action, but have you done a cost-benefit analysis of the expense of a lawsuit versus the human and financial cost of 2,000 people sleeping on our streets? I gotta finish. 2,000 people in emergency shelters, 16,000 people doubling up with friends and family, and 150,000 cost-burden renters. We have got to make Portland a city that works for all of us, not just the landlords. Thank you.
Next three names,
Are Lynn Hager, Margot Black, and Pete Hybertson, and they will be followed by Jamie Partridge, Paula Madden, and Chris Preval.
are you Mrs. Hager?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead, just give us your name, you have 2 minutes.
My name is Lynn Hager. I've lived in the Portland metro area for over 25 years.